March 2024 monthly school board meeting to order. Ms. Meeker, could you call the roll, please?
Sure can. Ms. Boucher.
Here.
Ms. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Cotton.
Here.
Ms. Hastings.
Here.
Ms. Higgins. Is she on Zoom?
Ms. Higgins will not be
Okay, sorry.
excused this evening.
Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Welsh.
Here.
And I am here.
Great. Next item is approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any amendments, changes, additions, subtractions? With that, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Richards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Boucher. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Next item is the consent agenda with the minutes for the February monthly meeting and budget work sessions 1 through 5. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Campbell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Robinson.
Who else is gonna do it? I will.
Any amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Next, Superintendent Murphy, would you like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
introduce
absolutely.
our celebration this month?
I want to celebrate some learning tonight, and we have our folks from the Concord Career Technical Center. So Ann Fowler, our principal up at the center, is here, and she's going to do introductions, and we have some students and staff with us tonight.
Hi.
So I brought with me our emergency services program. And for those of you who are not familiar with how CTE is set up in the state of New Hampshire, we have 28 centers in the state. And all the centers offer programs where the community needs are better served. So we can't just offer any program out of the 16 pathways. We have to pick pathways in which we've demonstrated that there's an employment need. So more recently, our emergency services program has taken off. We started out back, you can't hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
could you use the mic, please?
Sorry about that. So we started, I went back and looked at the numbers, 2020, from that point moving forward, we had about 25 students in our program altogether. Since then, we have steadily shown an increase. On top of that, the region has demonstrated through New Hampshire Employment Security about a 6% growth. The changes in the industry include not just preparing students for firefighting careers, but also emergency services, medical technicians, for an example, or a paramedic. So who I brought with me tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to, is Lieutenant Jim Duckworth, Concord Fire, and Sam Atkins, firefighter, paramedic with Concord Fire. These two gentlemen are active firefighters, also teach our students in the program.
Hi, that okay?
Yes.
So,
Yes,
Lieutenant Jim Duckworth with the Concord Fire Department. I've been with Concord now for about 21 years. And we started the emergency services program, which was initially just a fire-based program, approximately 7 years ago. Since that time, we've sort of diversified. Many of the other programs in the state haven't done that, and unfortunately, they're suffering now. They're down to 6 to 7 students, whereas ours currently just keeps climbing. One of the things we're most proud about here is, number one, we're not your typical instructors or teachers. We actively work still on fire trucks and ambulances every week and still come into work here and teach the most modern types of both EMS and firefighting. But ES, or emergency services, is really opened up to far more than just fire or EMS. Emergency services includes FEMA, it includes wildland, if that's like Texas, we have a pretty significant fire right now. It includes search and rescue for any kind of FEMA situations, hurricanes, major events. Active shooter situations, so now we're starting to work more closely with police departments and things of that nature. So emergency services is basically anyone you can think of that you would call when things go badly. Our students, and this was what I was trying to get to, have changed. When we started this program, If we had a female student, it was amazing. Now we are more than 50% female. So we have the most females anywhere in the state of New Hampshire in our programs, which both Sam and I are very, very proud of that, because the fire service, as you know, historically in the state of New Hampshire has been very male dominated. So now we're seeing a lot of our young folks coming in that are both male or female and willing to try things out. Let's see, we work very actively with different members of the compact. I don't know if you guys are aware. So we have the city of Concord is sort of the center of the compact, but we have all these area towns around the compact that work with us. They've donated almost everything we use, from fire gear, SCBAs, any hand tools, medical equipment. All of these different fire departments will give us anything that they're not using anymore. So we're able to sort of self-sustain with that. And Ann's been very good since she's come on board to give us some other things so that we're able to continue to diversify what we try to give to our students. What else did we want to hit?
There's the ride time factor. So,
Oh,
first year students. Can you guys hear me well? So our first year students and second year students get to do ride-alongs in the community within our mutual aid compact. Some of that is Concord. Some communities like Allenstown and Epsom have also stepped up and taken a lot of our students as well. So it's great to see not only them giving to the program, but the program kind of giving back in a way of giving them an awareness of these kids get to see where jobs might be, and they get to interview and ride along even though they don't realize they're interviewing. These departments get to see their skills, and we've actually had departments give job offers by the time they're like, oh, we need a certification more, but they're willing to wait for those students to come and be employed. So I think that's pretty beneficial.
The other thing is the need. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the fire service and EMS is struggling since the pandemic. Like I mentioned, I've been at Concord for 21 years. I've never seen a vacancy that lasts more than a month. We usually have a waiting list. Currently, we have 6 vacancies that we can't fill. We can't find people that will take these jobs right now. So that is not to Concord alone. That is literally statewide. We're seeing some fire departments, I heard Goffstown was as high as an entire shift down for people. So the jobs are there. We've had a lot of different places now that have started to pick up our students, including like Portsmouth, Laconia, Derry has 2 of our students now where they're all being offered full-time jobs. So, and even smaller towns, Bow and Loudon, different places like that, Samberton. So it's been very beneficial in that aspect that students are able to sort of move right into the job field. But now I was going to give you guys an opportunity to meet some of our students. So I'll have them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about our program.
Very nice. You can do it.
Oh, I bet. Everyone looks super nice. So my name's Corbin. I'm a second year in the emergency services program. I'm taking my EMT through Sam. I think the best thing that I've taken from this program is just the connection it makes with everybody. Me coming from a different school, I come from Bow. I went into it not knowing anybody. I had one friend, didn't know anyone. And they just were able to bring everyone together and kind of just make these new friendships that, you know, I didn't have at the original start of it. It's just a true experience because a lot of the things that we do are hands-on. I think that's a great way for students to learn, especially myself. The ride-alongs, that's definitely very helpful because if this is actually a career some of us want to go in, we can actually see the real-world things and what goes on. The teachers themselves, I think, are probably the best teachers for this class, just because they really engage with the students. They sit down with them if they need help. They don't let anyone fall behind, and they just help each other when we need it. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Edie Fisher. I'm a senior at John Stark, and I'm also a second year at the emergency service program. Same thing. It really brings friendships from different schools. I've had the opportunity to have an affiliation with Allenstown Fire Department. I worked really closely with them to get those patient contacts in. We need 10. You know where I was going. We need 10 to finish our EMT, and I've taken the responsibility of signing myself up for shifts and running from them 8 to 5 to get the connections with the community and hopefully get a job within the time I'm 18 and when my EMT goes into effectiveness. So this program is probably one of my favorite classes of the day, and I couldn't ask for more. The teachers, obviously, they're from Concord Fire, so they've given us the full potential and aspect and knowledge of what we need to do at the end of the day. So it's given me the greatest opportunity I could have.
Hi, I'm Lily O'Hara. I'm a first-year student, and I am a sophomore at Concord. I think that this program has given me so much different, how do I say this in a good way? So much different opportunities, whether it comes from ride-alongs or going to the fire academy. Getting to see fire right over my head was probably the coolest thing I have ever experienced in my life. Definitely, as they said, it is very family based. Like, we are all like a whole family. Even the kids that have come from places that they don't know anybody. We have kids that are homeschooled, and we have kids that are coming from different schools, small towns, big towns, just from everywhere. I feel like everybody gets along, and everybody just makes it a good place to be. And as it comes to all the academics, everybody just pushes each other to be better. And even when it gets hard, especially when you're doing obstacle courses and stuff that is physically laboring, that it's nice to have a community around you that pushes you through all of it. And as well as the students, our teachers definitely push us to be a better version of ourselves, and it's just a very good energy to be in that room, and it makes you want to be in there all day and never leave. But yeah.
Any of the board members have questions? Ms. Hastings?
Did I recently see a photograph of all females that participated in something, and it was very unusual?
You
But there were-
did.
okay.
Yeah, we have.
Could you use the mic? I'm sorry.
Sure, sorry. We have one class that I believe there's 2 males in that class, and both were out that day. So it was an entirely female class, and we were doing some of our obstacle courses, as she was saying, can be very difficult, and they're just, the girls keep the boys on their top game for sure, because they did a really nice job, and we saw the opportunity that day, and we said, we should take a picture, because this is something that we'll probably see more of moving forward.
Well, it resonated with me because I grew up watching Emergency.
Yeah.
And I would have dreamed to have a job like that, but it wasn't even something you could consider
Right.
40, 50
Right.
years ago. So.
When I came to Concord Fire, there were 2 females at Concord Fire, and that's all changing now. So, and it's going to change even more with these guys, which is amazing.
Thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Anybody else? Ms. Kimball?
I don't have a question. I just want to, first of all, thank the students for coming, and some of you coming from, it's not that you live in Concord, you came out here to talk to us tonight, and that's really really commendable for your program. I want to thank you. You spoke very eloquently about the program, and I appreciate it. And I also gentlemen, thank you for your service in addition to your teaching as a resident of Concord. I appreciate you every single day, but I really appreciate you for teaching our young folks
Absolutely.
for the next generation. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to echo that. I had a chance to be in your classroom a few weeks ago, and the support from the Concord Fire Department, not only the instructors, but other firefighters, paramedics had happened to stop by that day and were teaching lessons to the students and helping them. I think they were practicing extricating someone from a vehicle that day. So it was great to see and really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I couldn't have said it better than Mr. Richards, so we're good. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
for being
thank
here.
you.
Great job.
Hold on, Superintendent.
And maybe you could answer this question. Are there requirements from the Perkins grant that you have to try to meet requirements around gender in various classes that are offered?
Yes, actually.
And is this one of them?
Yes, it is. So amongst our programs, it's called non-traditional support, is we have to spend money to advertise and publicize and put in our catalogs, and a recruitment effort for industries where women typically, or men, typically are not identified in. So the federal government publishes a list of those industries, and as you can imagine, firefighting EMS is one of them, as would a male in cosmetology be one, or a female in automotive. So we have to every year analyze that list and spend some of our money and our grant money to recruit in good faith people into those programs.
Thank you.
Yep.
Would you be able to explain, it looks like you have uniforms of sorts on. Can you explain what those are and
You mean the students?
the students, yes.
Sure. Do you want the students to answer, or do you want,
Whoever,
here?
students, yeah.
Okay.
On the spot.
Yeah, we have a uniform. So we kind of like purchase our shirts and stuff that they provide us, and we have 511 pants, I think 511 pants that we go in to like a uniform store and we buy, and we wear it every Tuesday and Thursday in my class for our first year. And Edie will tell you about the second year one.
So our second years, we're obviously going on ride-alongs more constantly to do our patient contact. So we have these polos that we've designed as a class. So everyone in the second years have them, and then our first years just have regular blue T-shirts with our logo on the back and our ES 1 and 2.
Sure, Michelle.
Yeah, show
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
That's nice. Wonderful, thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you all.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. This can be nerve-wracking talking to a bunch of people like this. So thanks for doing it, you guys. Appreciate everything. I want one of those hoodies now. They're so cool.
Got to sign up for the program and get
I
accepted.
know. I've got FOMO.
I did notice during the CRTC, a lot of the programs have their own individual uniforms.
I love that.
They're pretty sharp looking.
And does the district supply those uniforms?
And before you go,
Who
who supplies the uniforms for the students?
Students will purchase that. That's part of the cost of signing up for the program. So all different programs have different uniforms, and the students will fundraise in some programs. Others, we have scholarships for students of financial need. But most of our programs do have some sort of uniform. They usually pick Fridays to wear them, or depending on the activities. And we suggest it because if they go out representing our programs out into the industry, we also produce IDs that we suggest they wear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll let you go now.
Yeah. And keeping with our student theme, we'll go to Sophia and Van for the student report. And thank you both for coming to our legislative breakfast and explaining to the legislators what you do as student representatives of the board.
All right, hi everybody. I hope everyone enjoyed their February and hopefully got a break like we did. With March being here and spring starting in about 2 weeks, we have spring sports starting about 2 weeks, or spring sports starting about 2 weeks. On March 18th. At Concord High School last month, we had sophomore students doing AP preview days. So for this, students got to preview two AP classes, I believe, and it was to like show students what AP classes were, because there's a lot of students that weren't sure of what you were doing in AP classes. So, and a lot of times like the advanced placement name like will scare students away from doing it. And during February, we also had our winter carnival with lots of games in the gym and many clubs selling different snacks, with each grade level getting a class period to go. And the week before that, we also had our pep rally with the teachers playing against our unified basketball team. And then we had different games for the grades to compete in, like musical chairs, which was a fun one. And looking forward to next year, all students should have submitted their courses by now during February. Thanks, I'm gonna pass it over to Sophia.
I'm going to do my best here. I did lose my voice, so I might have to hand it off to Van. But hello, everyone. I said I'm going to keep it brief because if you could probably tell I lost my voice. On February 23rd, Van and I spoke briefly during the legislative breakfast about our position and things we feel passionate about. We spoke about how we use our student voice in the district and talked more about the upcoming Memorial Field project. We were also able to listen in on the rest of the meeting and discuss some interesting topics with the mayor. On the 22nd, the Memorial Field discussion also took place at the high school, where citizens and Concord School District families were given some insight about the plans for the renovation. Two proposed plans were shown, and many spoke out to give feedback as well as their desires for the upcoming project. I was in attendance, and it was great to see both students and Concord citizens push this necessary project, even if it might not directly affect them. Thank you all, and have a great March.
Thank you. Superintendent Murphy, your report?
Well, they did half my report tonight. Does that count? Great job, Sophia and Van. I just heard today that New Hampshire has the highest percentage of students across the country taking AP classes. Thought that was kind of interesting. So it kind of follows the program that Dr. Herbert has put in place to encourage, students to take AP classes. And the opportunity to shadow other students in that class was terrific. So we hope that will increase participation at Concord High School. Tonight I'd like to recognize an employee in the district, Ann Lanny. Many of you probably know Ann. She's been employed in the district since 2002 as a school nurse at Runlet Middle School. I guess two things to celebrate. I'm hoping she thinks this is a celebration. I wrote an email to her and told her I thought it was a celebration. But Ann was selected 2024 New Hampshire Nurse of the Year. Really, yeah.
Isn't that the second year in a row we've taken that title?
Yeah, second year in a row, a Concord nurse has stepped up and to be selected. And, there's a process. It isn't, they don't pull names out of a hat. There's a process of interviews and various essays and responses to questions. And so it's pretty neat that for the second year in a row, we have a Nurse of the Year in Concord. But Ann has been incredibly dedicated during COVID. Ann took the lead. She was sort of the lead nurse before we had a nurse practitioner on staff. Ann really helped with all of the decisions with the nurses in terms of COVID protocols, and she was just a tremendous resource. So since 2002, she's been with you, and so not only is she Nurse of the Year, she did announce her retirement. So, yeah. So I think that's congratulations on both for Ann, but I just wanted to take a minute and say that and congratulate her. Sophia took my words out about Memorial Field in terms of an update. About 125 people attended. Great feedback. I was particularly pleased to see our student body there offering their suggestions, their thoughts. I think it was very clear that our students feel pretty strongly that we need a facility over there that will be conducive to the work, all the sports that are played over there. And it came up a lot. It isn't just about our high school youngsters. It also includes the city, because there are a lot of teams that use it. Adult leagues use it at night, especially in the summer. And so that was really important. It was interesting. I had a conversation with Jeff Collins. Jeff's the executive director for NHIAA. That's the New Hampshire Athletic Association, kind of oversees all the high school and middle school sports and regulations. And Jeff said to me, he said, I will tell you in a heartbeat, we would go back to having all of our tournaments, or many of our tournaments in Concord if we had a facility. And honestly, many years ago, Concord was the showcase. People came to Concord because it's sort of the center of the state, right? Capital city, lots of services like restaurants, and so families come. And so Jeff said to me, he said, in a heartbeat, I would be scheduling our tournaments and big events at the high school, but it needs some attention. So again, I thought it was a great night, and again, the comments were very positive. From our coaches, families, and our students. I did reach out to the recreation director, Dave, and talked a little bit about next steps. So we'll be meeting with them to talk about next steps in terms of what that means for the proposal.
And, I think at some point it'd be helpful to have a presentation to either the Capital Facilities Committee or the board as a whole. I think in the format that they had, it was really hard to drill down on costs and phasing, and I think that needs to be a next step for us as a board to really have those conversations.
I do believe that that's the next step, to go to city council and the school board, to
Yep.
do a presentation, talk about what that means and what the proposals were. Remember, there were several proposals, one to do it all and all at once, or to do nothing, or the third proposal is to a phase in. So I think the notion is that Dave Gill would come to our board and present, so. Anything else on that? It was a great night. It was a great night. And again, thanks, Sophia and Van, for being there. Appreciate it. I thought we had another successful legislative breakfast to follow up on, Sophia. It was great. The students sat with the mayor, so they had his ear the whole time, which was really awesome. And I think he thoroughly enjoyed it, by the way, to have a chance to sit with you. But to have folks there, the board, obviously the school board, members of the city council, we had our state legislators there, our executive counselor was there, and so it was really nice to have an opportunity to talk about some of those bills currently in session that affect schools, whether it's adequacy. I think we talked a little bit about that. We talked about our middle school project. And we did have a chance to talk about the city's equity committee. So it wasn't just meant to be school, but sort of a combination of the city and the school department. We got excellent feedback on it, and I hope that continues to be a traditional kind of an event every year, because it's very successful. Loved, and Ian's gone, but loved being at Gratitude, which is the restaurant, that the Career and Technical Center, the kids' part of culinary arts, that's where they serve and have their programs. They learn all that pieces of serving, but we appreciated being able to use that facility because it was nice. It was nice to be able to have that. So another topic that I wanted to just briefly mention today is an update on the ED rules, 306s. We did talk a little bit about those at our legislative breakfast, and I just kind of wanted to reinforce some of the main ideas about why these are so important for our schools. They haven't been done in a long time. That's reviewing all of the rules that regulate schools, public schools, and including charter schools. And so the opportunity to be able to have that conversation with legislators, I think, was really important. As you know, I went with the superintendent from Merrimack Valley, and we have presented at the state board meeting, and obviously always trying to support the work to move those standards forward. So, again, an important part of our work. We also hosted, as you recall, a session here. Fred Bramante, who was hired by the Department of Ed to facilitate discussions on them. Again, Merrimack Valley and I held an evening where people came and gave input, which was then written into the new rules. The rules that we have focus on competencies, and I think you can appreciate that since Concord has a strong program of competencies in all of our content areas. We also were very clear about equitable access for our ELOs. Those are experiences that kids have, extended learning experiences, ELOs. So we wanted to make sure that there was equitable opportunity for all students to participate in that, and making sure that those were in the standards. Flexibility was really important to folks across the board, and that means that they have an opportunity. You heard it tonight from our students in the fire program. They now have experiences. They're very flexible. They're earning their hours to achieve certificate in their programs, and that's because there's flexibility. You heard the young man talk about how he appreciates the hands-on approach to the learning rather than perhaps stand and deliver or pencil and paper. That's the kind of flexibility that we are looking for in those 306s, and we hope that's the direction. There is also a great focus on rigor. I don't think we can lose sight of the importance of rigor in our basic skills that we think all of our students should have. So those are the major focus on the standards It's been a challenge. I know that a document was recently submitted and has been redlined, which means that they went in and took out a lot of this. So we're going to probably be back to the drawing boards on it. I do know that there's a piece of legislation which I am supporting, in that if we aren't able to find a resolution at the state board level, that the legislators create a committee to put this together that has representatives from teachers and principals and curriculum folks, assistant superintendents like Kim on those committees, so that we can reach some level of new standards for our education. So just kind of wanted to update you on that. I think this is a critical piece of our work, and we will continue to keep an eye on it.
Anyone have
Any
any questions?
questions or thoughts on that?
If I may, the public hearing for anyone watching and for anyone in the audience, if you're concerned, so the minimum standards for public schools is like the user's manual that Kathleen and John and Kim need to use to make sure that our schools are in compliance. And in my opinion, and the opinion of many organizations, the standards in those rules have been increasingly watered down. And mentions of equity have been removed. There's many concerns about the current drafts being considered. Public hearings for those rules will be the first week of April. The State Board of Education hasn't announced a specific date, but it's looking like April 3rd at this point. Will probably be in the morning or afternoon. But if you are concerned about the minimum standards for public education, I strongly encourage folks to try and make themselves available for that public hearing, to hear from educators, parents, students if possible. Those are voices that have been lost in the process. So I would love to encourage folks to, however you feel about the rules, to participate in the process if you can. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for the update, too. So just one more big topic. I have a couple of little things to add on, but in terms of the agenda, I wanted to, I've been trying to give you updates on the strategic plan. That is our roadmap. That's what we use here in the office, we use out in the buildings. And tonight, if I could, if you look behind you, it's not in your book. So I put it up on, I was gonna make paper, but then I suggested that we just put it up on the screen. But I thought I'd give you an update on safety, because that's an important priority in the district. I know it says number 6, but please remember, the priorities aren't numbered based on the importance. There are 6 priorities, and so this one is on safety, and I kind of wanted to update you where we were on the first one, and obviously is reviewing safe school environments. And Matt's going to jump in because Matt has been so important in this process. He's been a valuable resource and has been the conduit to the fire and the police and to Homeland Security and all the other agencies that we deal with. So as you can see, we continue to look at proposals to enhance safety and security. We just got word this past week, that the SAFE grants were approved by the Executive Council. Those SAFE grants brought in $266,403 to the district. And we also have, as you recall, we also got a Department of Justice grant, U.S. Department of Justice grant. So we're able to address things like, in terms of creating that safe environment, vestibules at Concord High School, at the Career and Technical Center, at Broken Ground, and at Beaver Meadow. We're looking at various materials for our windows. Radios have all been ordered, with updated radios for all of our use in the schools, aligning all of our systems and our security systems. I don't want to get into too many details because we are talking about safety issues, but know that that's happening this year, and I anticipate that this will continue. I don't think this will be one of those goals that you say, oh, I'm all done, I'm all finished, I don't have to worry. So you'll see that more and more. Our teams are working with Homeland Security. We've implemented the operation plans. Everyone submitted annually the operation plans. to the Homeland Security. Is it Homeland Security, right, Matt?
It is Homeland Security, and we sent it to the Department of Education as well.
That's right, too, right. We know that the next goal, the next activity, crisis support teams, will be something that we'll be looking into next year, so, we couldn't do everything and all in 1 year. Ongoing training, we continue to train. We use CRAZE training. We've trained all year, and we will continue. It'll be an item on the agenda for new teachers next fall when we're bringing training, and anyone else that is new to our district in terms of our support staff. Another area that was really important is reunification sites. Remember, if there is a situation where we have to leave the campus of which the children are on, we reunify. We continue to practice that, and I think we have some practice drills coming up, Matt, right?
We do. We have a couple of schools that are practicing a walk to the reunification site and back with the help of law enforcement, fire, and Homeland Security.
Again, an important piece of our work. Updating safety equipment, such as the radios, was a goal that everyone wanted to achieve. And obviously, we continue to work with all of those agencies, that Department of Ed, local fire and police, and Homeland Security, and they have been awesome to work with. So I think we've made good progress there, and I anticipate, I don't know if you ever close any of these up, to be honest. I think you'll always see them as a priority, and we discuss them when we have our central office meetings. Matt will review these and what he's done. I try to put that into your weekly report when I update on the strategic priorities, and I think this will always be one that we'll work on forever. Can we go to the second goal? Thanks. So we've looked at policy, right? And following all the RSAs, especially the new ones around student well-being, social emotional learning, bullying, suicide. We've done all that, Title IX, volunteer procedures. We have it in gray because we haven't done any of that this year. We really did a yeoman's job in 22-23. But there may be some new legislation that comes up, and you'll see that block open up for this year or for next year. But we haven't done any this year. We felt like we're in pretty good shape. SRO is a budget issue, so we left that open for 23-24. Critical incidents, working again with all of our agencies, but this time it's a little different. This is around mental health and behavioral health. And you can see by the following one, we have already put in place a behavior intervention team, and we're working with agencies in the city to be part of that team. So those two kind of go together, the protocols for mental and behavioral health, as well as our behavioral intervention team, which is in place. Constantly evaluating our hard security and tools in every building, and ongoing training, especially with the staff that uses those things all the time. And it's around everything. It's from fire extinguishers to the fire apparatus to the AED things, making sure those are up to date and the batteries are working, and all of those safety things that we do in the building. And really, that falls under Matt's oversight. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, we also have our buildings inspected annually, in some cases, and semi-annually, for alarm systems, fire protection, the piping that carries the water, put out pipes. All of the fire extinguishers get it checked every month. So it's something that a lot of people don't always think about, but there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that is done.
And the last goal.
Can you speak up just a little bit? Can't hear you.
And of course, the last goal is around all around audits for cybersecurity, and you have been apprised by that. I think Dan brought you up to speed. I know that he has another presentation that he's going to bring back to you around the cybersecurity. This is really important. I got a call from a good friend who reminded me, make sure you're doing this, this, and this, because the district that he works in had a breach, and it has really set them back. So our team, our IT team has been right on this, Dan Albert leading that, and Brandon, both of them have really been focused on making sure that we have all the protocols in place. I see Jess shaking her head because she knows in banking you have the same issues, don't you? Yeah. So this is important. And again, we have to protect student privacy. If somebody gets into our system, that's all the data on students' names, addresses, family relations, all of that, the data that we need, right, to survive. So that is critically important that we protect that personal information. So we're working on that, and that's ongoing. I would say that would be an ongoing task. So that's where we are, and I'll take questions.
Anyone have any questions? Ms. Meeker?
Hi. We had discussed at the board retreat that this topic of safety is big enough that it might be worth considering having a standing board committee on safety. I know we already have a lot of standing committees, and we don't necessarily want to commit more of our time. Because our standing committees are set in policy, as the chair of policy, I'd sent an email asking if you guys wanted to pursue that, and I didn't hear back. So I'm curious if we want to continue talking about that, if that's something that you think is worthy of a board committee, or if you guys feel like you've got it under control.
Well, I'd like to think we have it under control, but I say that tongue-in-cheek, right? When you sent that email, I did see it. I didn't ignore you, but I thought the board would make that decision since it is a committee of the board. So I think safety will always be a priority. So if that means we have, maybe not every month like we do, but maybe a quarterly meeting, something, I don't know, but I'm looking to Pam to see if.
And I had said, I think maybe it makes sense if someone wanted to make a motion to formally refer this to communications and policy to look at review our standing committees and update the policy on standing committees. I'll make that motion.
Yeah. Well, and it's not necessarily something that I desire. We have lots of standing committees, but because it had come up, if the district is looking for a little extra hand in communicating about safety, then how do we start that process of exploring a committee is really just what I'm bringing up.
And I do think that, Matt oversees, he meets with every building every month, the principal, and they also have a joint loss committee that they, by law, have to have, right? And so they do that frequently, and those issues around security and safety come up. And those committees are made up of our staff, teachers, principals, custodians are on that too, Matt?
Correct. I might throw out too, another option to achieve that is we could take, we have capital facilities committee meetings once a month. You could say twice a year or quarterly, make a night dedicated under a capital facilities to safety to give updates.
Well, and it might make sense just for communications and policy to
explore it.
Explore the different options and come back with the recommendations.
I would say any opportunity that we have to dust off our policies and make sure that they are appropriate for time and place is never time wasted.
So there's a motion on the table.
Right.
If there's a second.
I am happy to second it.
Ms.
even though
Robinson
it's
seconds.
Me dumping more work on another committee I don't belong to.
Thanks, guys.
You
All
started,
right.
Kara.
I know I did. All right, so the motion is to review the standing committee policies of the board. Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. Great.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
lastly, if I could, I just have one more.
I just wanted to add on this topic of safety, because we spoke at really high levels, that fairly frequently the administration briefs the board in non-public session on a variety of safety things, because obviously we don't want to have public discussions about all of the safety measures we have in our schools, because that would undermine some of them. But those conversations do happen. We had some as part of the budget process as well, and about how we're going to be spending our new grant funding. Go ahead, Superintendent.
And lastly, tonight, I know that you're all aware around the issue around consolidation of Broken Ground and Millbrook. And I just wanted to reiterate that I had withdrawn that proposal for consolidation of administrative services. As you know, that was a suggestion and a thought around what might or might not work. But in the long run, I received a lot of feedback and from staff and other folks, and upon review of all that feedback, felt that that was not a proposal that was embraced. But certainly, I think I've said this to you all before, my job is to bring you ideas. And I would be remiss if I didn't make suggestions. Now, I get it, that not all my suggestions are going to be well received, right? But I do believe that that's my responsibility. But ultimately, I do appreciate all the input that I got. And so it's off the table, and I appreciate your support on that very much. Other than that, I think I've said enough.
Thank you.
Ask a question.
Yes, Mr.
Has the financial, or Mr. Dunn, with regards to withdrawing that proposal, has the budget been adjusted financially with regards to expenses to reflect that, and will we see that in our next?
You'll see it increase 200,000, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Middle school update, who's going to be leading?
Well, I'm happy to, if you, these are updates on the committees.
Okay, so we have formed the first, the building committee, and it will hold its first meeting on Thursday, right here at 5:30. And then the programming working group, which is going to be looking at things like athletic facilities and special education facilities and theater facilities, will be meeting next Thursday at 5:30 here. The Sustainability Committee will have its first meeting in April, is our plan.
That's right.
And they will be looking at things like various geothermal, solar power, other opportunities to reduce energy costs or to be energy independent in the building, and the costs and trade-offs of that, including what grants might be available. There's a lot of federal funds available right now for energy efficiency and alternative energy sources. We had a lot of community interest in the committees. There will be more committees to come, so hopefully folks will, if they're interested in serving on others, will continue to apply. I will say that we'd love to see more applicants from wards 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. It was very heavily focused. People applying from a couple of wards. So to the extent that you know people and can encourage people in your wards to apply, that would be great.
Pam, just a question. The
Yep.
sustainability meeting
Yep.
is not, I don't see it on April.
It's not scheduled
Oh.
yet. It will be in April.
We just set that date. We just set that date. It is April 11th, Thursday, April 11th, 5:30 here. Sorry, we just did that with the architects because they will have folks here to work with the committee on it.
5:30?
5:30. I'll put that in the calendar.
Did we name people to the sustainability?
Okay, thank you. Superintendent, are you gonna do the gas, or Mr. Dunn, the gas station property update?
Mr. Dunn, you want to review where we are with that, please?
Yes. So, as you know, and it's been going on for almost a year this month, as far as you're taking up the gas station at Pleasant and Fruit, questioning the approval of that. That has gone through several court options, and now the option is at the Supreme Court. And so far, there has not been an avenue to reverse that. So it's at the final stage of the Supreme Court if you want to pursue it.
So I'm just, whether we go forward or not on filing an intent to appeal as a public vote, if we're going to get into discussions of various legal strategies, we would need to go into non-public for that. So I don't know if our attorney is also available on Wednesday if we want to have that discussion then, if anyone feels they need another discussion with the attorney. If not, I will happily take a motion to, on what people would like to do. The question is whether we file an intent to appeal with the Supreme Court or not. And the deadline for that is, Mr. Dunn?
I believe it's going to be March 12th, because it was 30 days from the time you got the Superior Court notice, which was about the 12th of February.
I'll second that motion, just.
No one's made it yet.
I thought you just made
And
it.
also,
No.
should we wait for public comment? Do we want to post, like, just?
Yes, we can wait for public comment as well. So that's fine. We will move that until after the public comment discussion. But I think my question is, does anyone feel the need to delay this until an opportunity to talk to the legal counsel again? No? Okay, great. That's what I really want. Great. All right.
Pam, if I could.
Yes,
just
Mr.
Just to give a little more background for people in the audience who might not remember this coming up a year ago, or whenever it was. But this is the gas station directly across the street from the high school, going towards the state hospital grounds. It's been closed for a number of years, and they are now proposing to reopen it again. That was approved by the zoning board, and the school district decided to appeal that as an abutter because of the safety concerns surrounding a number of cars and trucks going in and out of there, big fuel tankers, et cetera. We lost that at the Superior Court level, and so now we're going to make a decision of whether to continue to appeal that at the Supreme Court level. So I just wanted to set that out there a little bit.
Thank you. Mr. Cotton. Mr. Dunn, monthly finance report.
Yep, sure. So you have in your booklet, starting at page 34, where we are now as of 3/3. I don't have, as we get to the end of the year, some of these things will begin to turn red because you have commitments to certain student services programs that are coming and going. So I'll give you an example. If you turn to page 36 and you see all the way under professional services, you see 632,300, which are professional services for pupils. You see that's negative 475,000. But if you go over 3 columns, you see encumbered $1,056,000, because we issue purchase orders for each student. So as students drop off, we might free up money. As a student comes in, we estimate what that's going to cost for the rest of the year, and then we appropriate that money. So the money oscillates. So it's going to go in the red. When all things figure out at the end of the year, you may not be in the red. It's just we start to see that this time of year because we've got about 3 months left, and you have commitments that you're starting to make, and some students transfer out. Okay, so I just highlight that piece of it. Same thing when I see in repair and maintenance, there's declining balances of 105,000. You see what's encumbered there, but right now it says negative 21,000. That's probably going to run a little hot. We've had a lot of repairs on the HVAC, and as you know, we will be making upgrades to that, but that's going to take a little time. If I go to the next page, which I think is 37, you'll see the out-of-district transportation. Negative 664, but there's 402,000 encumbered. That I'll expect to run very similar to last year. Now, you do have money in your special ed reserve that we have to go to if we have to take care of that. But we're going to have to look at coming up with a different alternative solution. And we'll have a non-public to talk about the 40 or so that are transported through vans, which are non-CDL vehicles. Okay. Other than that, I don't have anything else really to highlight. Oh, I will highlight, if you go down to page, I think in your book, it says 7 of 9 on the bottom, which is page 40.
I
You'll
was gonna
see.
say, can you stop my heart palpitations at seeing a sea of red?
Well, all that red now takes your expenses and starts to pull them all down. So, you know, that's okay. That's the way this is reported.
Okay.
Take a look at the rentals, 519-100. We had budgeted 250, and as you can see right now, we're at 141,000. Usually we budget about 100,000 higher because we anticipate with the presidential candidates, they come in and we welcome their money. That hasn't happened this year. And maybe because it's such a somewhat static election with an incumbent and then not much competition on the other side. So we didn't see that kind of activity. So I anticipate that that'll be off a little bit. But in your budget next year, I put it back down to what it normally runs, which is 150. Okay? Other than that, I don't have anything else to highlight at the moment because there's other things that'll be coming in from the state and the feds, but not till April or May.
Thank you. It is now our first public comment period of the evening. If you'd like to comment, I'd ask that you sign in with your name and address, and we have 30 minutes for public comment. Thank you. You could sit right down there and just introduce yourself.
Can you hear me okay?
If you could put it a little closer, maybe.
How's that? Is that
Yeah,
better?
but yes,
Okay,
better.
great.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Massini. I live in Ward 5, and I have a kid at Runlet, an 8th grader, who went through Krista McAuliffe School and will be at Concord High School in the fall, good Lord willing. The front page article in last Saturday's Concord Monitor was interesting for many reasons. I want to pick up on two things in that article. First, according to board member Ms. Boucher, to revisit the December 18th vote for broken ground would be disrespectful to former board members and their constituents. To the contrary, I maintain that the disrespect has already been shown, but in the other direction. The school board has disrespected, even disdained, their constituents by rejecting the majority's clearly expressed desire to rebuild at Runlet. Second, according to board member Ms. Meeker, the main question before the Concord School Board now is, how do we regain trust and move forward? That's a really good question, but it begs a more important question. Why does the Concord School Board keep losing our trust over and over and over again? Quite recently, SAU 8 and the Concord School Board were in shambles because of the Howie Leung debacle. The school superintendent was fired. The principal of Concord High School was forced to resign. The public was furious. Picking up the pieces, the school board promised us a fresh start. They would listen to the public. They would be transparent. They would rebuild our trust. Yet now, not long after that promise was made, a sitting member of this board is asking how you can regain our trust. After the December 18th vote, I went up to the stage and I spoke with school board member Jonathan Weinberg, my representative, who voted for broken ground. I told him how disappointed I was that he defied the majority voice. I said to him, Jonathan, you're going to get a lot of blowback on this vote. He smiled at me and he said, well, not me. I won't be here for it. That kind of arrogant dismissal of your constituents is why this board has yet again squandered our trust. I believe that Ms. Meeker is sincere in her desire to regain our trust. I don't know about the rest of the board. Maybe you don't care about that. But if you do care, the first and biggest step you can take to regain our trust is to rescind the vote to build at broken ground. I'm not alone on this. Far from it. Here is a petition still gaining signatures from 805 others who think likewise. If you listen to them, we can, as Ms. Meeker hopes, and as do I, move forward together. Otherwise, unfortunately for all of us, your work will continue under a cloud of mistrust and ill will that you have created. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dawn Morris, and I had the opportunity of being with you a few months ago. I teach over at Millbrook School. Thank you for allowing me to come back and talk. I guess, like, I've heard a lot of things tonight, and I guess I want to first start by saying, if you're not already aware, this is my 35th year of teaching school here in Concord, and started when I was 22 years old. And I thought of teaching nowhere else. Because when I arrived here, the standards, the expectation, the people, everything about it was all that I ever wanted. And here I am, 35 years later. So, and there's no question, I love my job. It's my children that keep me inspired, that keep me engaged every day to walk in there. I can't wait to arrive in my classroom and be the first one there and the last one to leave. What's missing? Well, I think we've heard a few folks, and I feel like my 35 years here of experience is at least worth that. Yeah, I feel like Concord has gone through some potholes. And as we all do, sometimes conflict is our friend, and we can grow from it, and we can make changes to better ourselves. And I really do believe that. As a member of Dame's school community, we were in a tough place back in 1989, 1990. And we as a staff dug deep to figure out how are we going to build a community where we're fostering an engagement and a love for learning for these children who are coming from our most challenging population. And all of us spent summers, hours, weekends with each other trying to figure out how are we as a staff going to work together to communicate effectively, to give our kids the best that we can give. And we did that at Dame School under Ed Barnwell. And it was probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've been a part of. And so when I hear about like initiatives and things changing, and I think all of us that have been in education long enough know what goes around comes around. It's just called something different and how we do it. But how we treat each other and how we work together, that really shouldn't change. I'm not better than any one of you, and nor are you better than any one of me. I am here. My job is to build a community, an engaging place where my kids will succeed. I don't have a minimum standard. I want and expect all of my kids to do the best that they can and be the best that they can be. But on the flip side, that is my job. And that's what my administrator would expect from me. And quite frankly, that's kind of what I expect from you. I want to be treated the same way as I would treat my children or my families and give them the best opportunity and communicate. And I feel in my heart of hearts, we could all do a better job. But I feel like the communication between what happens sometimes, for lack of a better word, just to say here at Central versus at like an independent school, it feels like the perception is that those of us that are in the front line teaching, we're the last ones to know about some of these decisions. And it feels like, at times, we're just supposed to take it and keep moving on. Aren't we all on the same team? Aren't we all working to that same outcome to make kids feel successful, to build that community where Concord can have that reputation again? I hope so. I'm still here, but I'll be honest, it gets really hard at times when I hear, oh, well, they asked what we wanted, but we're doing what we want anyways, and you just have to follow it. And I feel like, how did that change? What changed? How am I not your equal? I get that I work for the city of Concord and work for you, but I give my all every day, and I'm certain that you do as well. I think on behalf of myself, I'm not opposed to change. I think if you're all aware of what Millbrook's been like for the past 7 years, change is all we've had. And we still seem to stand proud and stand tall, and we will. I just want the same courtesy and the same respect. When big decisions are being made that affect me and my job, those kids leave with my name on them, not yours. And I don't want some kid to come back or some family to come back and say, she didn't give her all. She didn't give us everything. She never told us that. I wouldn't do that to a family, not willingly, not intentionally. And I certainly don't want that from any of you. So when decisions are being made, I don't want to have to be in a reaction mode. I'm teaching our youngest learners how to be proactive.
Ms. Morris, can I ask you to just finish up, please?
That's pretty much all I
Okay,
want to say.
great, thank you.
I guess bottom line, I used to think that I worked with the Concord School District and administrators in central office. I used to be here frequently, and now I just feel like I work for you, and I'm just your employee. And I wish that myself and a lot of us, other educators working that front line, were more valued than that. So I love being here, and I love my job, and I can hope you can appreciate for what I'm saying, because I'm still in the front line every day trying to change lives. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to testify?
So, to keep this short and brief, I just wrote like a one-page. I hope everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me back there? Okay, good. Thank you.
Can you say your name, please?
Can you hear me?
Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, I was going to do that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Mead, and I live in Ward 7. I want to thank the board and members of the public for being here tonight and allowing me to speak. I took it upon myself to do a little research on some of the most recent middle school builds in New Hampshire and Maine, and would like to share this with our audience. I have to date 7 schools, which include middle schools and 1 high school, all built between 2019 and 2024. I'd like to share the data on only 3 of these middle schools because I don't want to bore everybody to death. Okay, and keep it as brief as possible. The McCarthy Middle School in Nashua, the Oyster River Middle School in Durham, New Hampshire, and the South Portland Middle School in Portland, Maine. Starting with the McCarthy Middle School in Nashua with grades 6 through 8, 220 square feet enrolled is 829 students, and opened in 2024 at a cost of $92 million. Now, this was the cost just for the middle school build, because they also renovated 2 other schools at the time, okay? So, you know, you'll see figures, I think, as high as 130 million, but it included the 2 other schools that were renovated. So the middle school itself was 92 million. The new middle school has conventional HVAC and solar. Next, the Oyster River Middle School in Durham, New Hampshire. This opened in 2022 for grades 5 through 8 at 146,900 square feet with 660 enrolled students for a cost of $49.8 million. Okay, grades, 5 through 8. The project includes geothermal heating and cooling, solar on the total roof of the school and on the carports in the parking lot. These systems have provided 30% more energy production than it consumes. The district feels they can earn back $300,000 through the Eversource Net Zero rebate program for these net zero costs, okay? Which is nice, right? Okay, lastly, South Portland, Maine Middle School with grades 5 through 8 and an enrollment of 850 to 900 students. This school opened in 2023 and has 176,000 square feet. This also has geothermal and solar for heating, cooling, and electricity. The cost is $69 million. Okay, all within the past few years. Now think about that. All these schools have advanced security entry systems, so, keep us safe, right? We're talking about safe schools. That's what we want. Great. The point I want to make, in all of these schools, they are all built for under $420 per square foot. Okay? That's kind of the average in urban, sort of rural places like this. I spoke to my brother, who's an engineer for the Brookline, Mass. School system. They just built a middle school down there, and he says their prices are much higher, average sometimes $100, $200 more, because they have to pay every builder union labor costs. Okay, so they might be paying $650 per square foot, where we should be paying about $400 average. Okay, so if we compare this with the proposed middle school for Concord, New Hampshire, our school will be for grades 6 through 8. The projected school enrollment taken from the 2022 middle school project documents, 788 kids from 2023 to 2024 school year, and that dropping to 776 from 24 to 25. The bottom line from my data collection is the projected cost estimate of $136 million, which I think is the most recent cost for this middle school build at Broken Ground. I mean, it kind of moves around, so I'm trying to figure it out a little bit, like most of us, and be,
Ms. Mead, I'm sorry, your 5 minutes are up, if you could just finish up.
5 minutes? Okay. I think it is painfully obvious that the citizens of Concord, renters and homeowners alike, deserve and demand transparency, accountability, and most importantly, a choice where the middle school will be. I feel that the middle school should stay at the Runlet School site to contain building costs and preserve green space. I ask that members of the school board rescind the vote to build a school at Broken Ground. Thank you very much. And I just want to put this into the data.
If you could hand that to Mr.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Did you have a question?
No, I was just gonna let her know that she could hand that to Mr. Dunn.
Okay, would anyone else like to testify? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Do we want to do the gas station now?
Sure.
If anyone would like to make a motion?
So moved. I guess I'll move that we discuss the gas station.
I think we need a motion of whether we're to either file or not file a notice of appeal, or to go into non-public.
I will move that we file a notice that we will appeal.
Okay. Mr. Cotton move that we file a notice of intent to appeal. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Richards. Is there a discussion?
I'm not going to be able to support that motion. I'm sorry. I think we've tried. We've expended a fair amount of money for lawyers' fees already. We're looking at our budget. I think that I would rather see the money that we would invest in fighting this go to new positions for teaching and direct student services. Thank you.
Mr. Cotton?
I would just point out that the motion is only to file a notice of intent, which is a distinction of actually going all the way through the process.
Would it have the idea that we would continue it?
I don't know that that's appropriate to talk about in public session.
In public? I'm still, I guess, not inclined to support it.
Ms. Robinson?
Yeah, I'm going to just corroborate what Ms. Hastings addressed, given that we're in budget season and we are unfortunately having to make some very tough decisions for our district. I think from a financially responsible standpoint, it doesn't resonate with me as a positive decision for where we are right now as a district. So I will be voting no on the motion.
I have a question.
Ms. Boucher?
Was the money for this already budgeted in the previous budget?
No, it came out of surplus.
It was just a cap.
Or where, yeah.
Yeah, when we did the budget, we didn't know about this. It was prior to that, so as a result, we didn't set aside, but as you know, in your budget, you have money for legal fees. And we sometimes don't know if something comes up, it's unexpected, but the money, you put money aside for us to address things, but not with specific intent, like this project.
But there was discussion of a cap of.
Yes, and we're still under that
Yeah,
cap.
we're still, I know what you're saying, that, I think it was like 25,000.
Yep.
And we're still under the cap. It was.
Right, correct, Mr. Dunn?
That's correct.
I believe that in discussions, I'm trying to be careful about what we can and can't say in a
Okay.
public session, but I believe even though we established a cap, that the expectation is that we might exceed that if we continue down this path. So that if we, from my perspective, have intent to continue down this path, that we have a goal in mind other than to just stop progress. I'm with my colleagues that I think that we gave it a good run, and that as that site sits languishing, it doesn't seem to be fulfilling any purpose, and I'm ready to let this go.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
You're gonna have to do it.
Yeah, let's do a roll call, please, Ms. Meeker.
All right, roll call vote.
Can we just, what was the motion again?
The motion is to file a notice of intent to appeal to the Supreme Court for the case that we lost in the Superior Court. Thank you. The other court, yeah. Okay, Ms. Boucher,
Nay.
Ms. Campbell,
Nay.
Mr. Cotton,
Yes.
Ms. Hastings,
Nay.
Mr. Richards,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Nay.
Ms. Walsh,
Nay.
and I am a nay, and we have one absent. So 1, 2, 3.
Motion fails 6-2.
Thank you.
Next, we have nominations of administrative staff for 2024-25. begins on page 43 of your, begins on page 43.
So I'm very pleased tonight. It's always the best part, right? To be able to present to you a slate for Concord administrators. They all are part of the Concord Administrators Association. Would you like me to read each one? Do you want to just accept the slate as presented in your packet?
Why don't you read, just so folks know?
I'm pleased to present Dr. Herbert, principal at Concord High School, Colleen Chalakis, assistant principal, Concord High School, James Corcoran, assistant principal, Concord High School, Graham Crawford, assistant principal at the high school, Ann Fowler, principal at Career and Technical Center, Michelle Speckman at Concord High School as special ed director. At the middle school, Jay Richard as principal, Kim Eason as assistant principal at the middle school, Sean White, assistant principal at the middle school, Cynthia Liska, the director for special education. At our elementary level, Anthony Blinn, principal at Abbott Downing, Michelle Vance, principal at Beaver Meadow, assistant principal Brittany Mahaney at Beaver Meadow, Kristen Gallo, principal at Kristen McAuliffe School, assistant principal Lindsay Nye at Kristen McAuliffe, Kathleen Scapardi at Millbrook School, and Michael McLeod at Millbrook School as the assistant principal.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the slate as presented.
Seconded.
Seconded by Ms. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Central Office Administrators.
So in the central office administrators, the same follows through in terms of the folks that work here. I have to say that as the education leader for the district, I'm fortunate to be surrounded by some very talented people and every day and who work very hard for this district. So it's really a great pleasure for me to be able to present their names. Matthew Cashman, Director for Facilities, Director for Transportation, Terry Crotty, Business Administrator, John Dunn. Everybody said, "Who's John Dunn?" Where did Jack come from? I couldn't answer that question, but I have a feeling that it's a family name.
Well, the kingship ended with me, just so you know.
Oh, it did. Yes,
it
there were
did.
multiple John Dunns.
Number 4 and the final.
The
There was
last
no
of
need
it.
for Johnny 5, for those who remember the 80s.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Karen Fisher Anderson, safety, school safety compliance officer. Michelle Guerin, human services. Donna Reynolds, food service. Fern Seiden for director for students wellness. Teresa Wool, director of communication. Kimberly Yarlott, our assistant superintendent for curriculum. Wait a minute, where's John?
Yeah.
John's up there.
He's up there.
He was after Jack.
He's after John.
Jack.
Oh,
After
John, how
John
did I
Dunn,
miss
that
John?
mysterious John Dunn.
Oh, my God,
I had the same.
I'll never
it's
live this down.
alphabetical. It's alphabetical.
I'll never live this down. And John Fabrizio, assistant superintendent for student services.
Were you sweating, John?
Yeah. He knows me better than that. Anyway.
He's
I
reading.
move to accept the slate of administrative staff as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Moved by Ms. Robinson, seconded by Ms. Campbell. Is there a discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And then spring coaches.
I'm going to turn that over to Michelle. Thank you, Michelle.
Good evening. Direct you to page 46 of the board packet. I do have 2 new coaches for the spring session to be nominated. Daniel Breen for intramural strength training and Megan Shippos for girls lacrosse at Runlet.
Any discussion?
Well, I'll make a motion.
Motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the nominations as presented.
Second?
Second.
Second, moved by Mr. Richardson, seconded by Ms. Hastings. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are on communications and policy. Ms. Meeker,
Yes.
you want to lead us in this discussion?
What you have before you tonight for your consideration should be pretty straightforward. We have the policy committee meeting minutes starting on page 47. And then we have before you Concord School District Policy 530, which is on second reading. So tonight is the final vote on that. On page 49, you have the current policy prior to editing. On page 50 and 51 and 52 and 53, you have the redline version, which is also, because there were no changes from first reading, is considered the second reading version. And then after that, you see the final version, starting on page 54, with all the redlining removed. I would say before we, I would move to accept the communication and policy meeting minutes as written.
Moved by Ms. Meeker, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Boucher. Is there any discussion, amendments, corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
And from there, I would move to accept policy 530, the student wellness policy, on second reading.
Seconded.
Moved by Ms. Meeker, seconded by Ms. Robinson. Discussion. I have a question.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I didn't bring up last time. Water bottles must exclusively be filled with water. What's the thinking behind that and the enforcement mechanism behind that?
It's a great question that came up in discussion. I believe that the RSA guides the language.
Okay.
Whether or not it makes sense or is enforceable 100% of the time is a matter that we could discuss forever.
So the RSA requires that we say water bottles be
That
filled
it is
exclusively.
in regard to water filling stations and water bottles, yes.
Okay.
We can certainly talk about the merits of hot tea.
I mean, which is
Yeah.
ideal. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's ideal that everyone be drinking more water and
Yes.
non-caloric beverages.
Yes, while also acknowledging that when children bring their lunch to school, oftentimes they are provided liquids that are not water. So yes, it can seem a little circular.
That they can have an individual juice box, but they can't put juice in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's the world without rules, Pam?
Yeah,
Chaos.
Could it go to students having water bottles on their desks? I was thinking more along that line, in that you don't want juice-filled water bottles on your desk during your teaching,
No,
because
juice,
if they
soda.
spill.
Okay.
You can't control it like a juice
Right.
box, you
I
can
honestly think
control.
it's simpler than that.
Okay.
A water bottle has water in it. A juice bottle has some juice in it.
Well, but if you bring something like that, is it a water bottle or a juice bottle? Right?
Schrodinger's water bottle.
And you'd be surprised how many students reuse those plastic water bottles.
Absolutely. I mean, is it something we'll solve tonight? Probably
No,
not.
all right, so
Is it
Yeah, because it
something
needs to be.
that we
It's
can?
required by the RSA. All right.
Move the question.
I will take that up with my legislators.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Equity Advisory Subcommittee,
He's been patiently waiting back there. Quincy. I'm going to have to move him up on the agenda.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being patient, Quincy. Thank you. It's a long day, and I apologize.
It is totally fine. Hello, everyone.
Quincy.
Hello. I just wanted to give you all just a couple updates, since it is about a month since I see you every single time. So, a couple of things in my world that have been going on. I have been able to meet with the PTO at Runlet. I'm meeting with the PTO at Krista this month at some point in time. I've assisted in the athletic director interviews for the high school position. Still keeping those student groups that I have going on at Runlet going. during the legislative breakfast, I was able to connect with the mayor, and we are, this week I'm reaching out to set up us just getting coffees, just so, I can't be on the city's equity committee because I don't live here, but we're gonna chat about some ways I can still be involved in some way, shape, or form. So hopefully that'll be a very fruitful conversation. There's a conference in Rhode Island that I'm going to later this month. It's called the School Redesign and Action Conference. There's a lot of topics. Honestly, if we could send multiple people from this district, that would be fantastic. But I'm going to go. I'm going to be having a conversation with Kathleen later this week to kind of break down what sessions make sense for me to go to, because honestly, I could probably sit in every single one. It would make sense for my role and then others that I'm connected to. There was a book diversity program that we had a couple teachers apply for at the high school. They actually won. I'm not sure who won because we had 3, but and strategically it works out that since one of them did, they were able to, they decided to split the books amongst all 3 of their classes, but then the other ones can just reapply. So, and they were encouraged to do so. So that's a really good thing. It was $500 worth of books, which roughly, I think I counted about 62 books for their bookshelves, which is pretty awesome. These are for their personal classroom libraries, not for the general public. Let's see. I was able to attend the CRTC. They have these program, I guess maybe it's a shadow day perhaps, but basically I was able to check out all of the CRTC programs and see them firsthand, which is great because I'm working with them to help make sure that everyone has access and programs are diversified and all of the things that go with that. And I'm really glad that they were able to come here. Their program was one of my favorite ones that I saw. They had students suspended from places in the high school. It was wild stuff. I loved it. And then in addition, I'm glad that you all mentioned the AP Review Day. I have some specific numbers around that. I was in a conversation later, but I said I was speaking at this. They're like, yeah, feel free to share this. So I think it's worth it. There were 103 students over the 2 days that they did that participated, and there were some students that saw up to like 8 subjects. So that's pretty awesome. With that, if we're just saying like, one student saw 8, maybe one saw 2, that whole number goes up to 270 programs that we're seeing. And there were some folks that did end up changing their schedules immediately. Others were really having some honest conversations about I'm not ready right now, but I will be next year. So it was really, really fruitful from that as well. Let's see, what else is going on? I think that's pretty much it at this moment in time. But I am here if you have any questions, so anything?
Any questions for him? Okay, well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Quincy.
Thank you, Quincy.
One of the things that he didn't share was that he.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
I know, and he really wanted to make sure that all students had access to AP. All students have access to the career and technical programs, and that's an important thing. That's one of his, if I can speak about your goals, that's one of Quincy's goals this year, identifying, making sure that our programs, like in the Career and Technical Center, as well as our AP and our honors classes, represent our student body, and that's really important. So he's been encouraging students to take a risk, because sometimes it is, it's a big leap for some, and they're nervous about it, and they don't give themselves enough credit sometimes, and so he's there to encourage them to do that. And I think it's been really positive for him to be part of the shadows in both of these programs at the high school. Sorry, I just had to add that.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Worthy's a little too modest in his efforts and accomplishments.
Feedback that I've gotten.
We're working on that.
Thanks, Quincy.
Thank you. monthly enrollment reports.
It is what it is, I guess, to say to you. I mean, it stays pretty, it's pretty constant, but, you know, when I look at the enrollment, let's take a look at elementary, and when I compare numbers from month to month, I start with the October number. October 1 is the reporting number to the department. It's also after everybody's moved in. Sometimes the September 1 is, the September 1 enrollment number is soft, and I don't like to use it, so I always use October. You see a decline in our elementary of 9 students overall. In the middle school, there's a decline of 14 students, and probably the biggest decline was at the high school, where we had 48 students decline. Now, I did actually bring some data just from month to month, and what's happening, what's going on with kids, you know, why are they leaving, are they dropping out? And of course, you know, they can't just drop out because there's a law that says they must stay in school till 18. I was going to say 16. That's old. 18. But I looked at the high school report. Let me just give you an example. This is just month to month. Lots of transfers. Transfers to non-public school, which a student went to Bishop Brady. Another student transferred to a non-Concord program, that would be Central High School. We had homeschoolers transfer. This is just over the last month. We had a family that moved out of state, actually moved back to the UK, so they left the country, and students who leave school. So we're monitoring that every month. When we get requests from parents around homeschool, we're picking up the phone. We're starting a conversation. We're making sure that they know that there's lots of reasons for homeschool, and I'm not going to get into those, but that's, you know, the parent and the student making those choices. But we want to be able to say to them, would it help if they came in for 1 class or 2 classes? That they cut their schedule, because you don't know what's happening in the home. I mean, it could be illness in the home. They want to be at home. I've seen that. We've seen students where there's a death in the family really struggle to get back to school. Students, as you know, we've all been dealing with this since the pandemic, this heightened anxiety and depression we see, especially in our older students. So they withdraw and they will homeschool. So I just, we're keeping a close eye on it, but we're also recognizing that our homeschool families are Concord taxpayers, right? And so they have access to our programs. I think you heard tonight from one of our students in the fire program that there's a homeschool student that's in their program that comes in and accesses them. We have homeschool students accessing at all grade levels, elementary, middle, and high. A question was asked, I think, at one of the budget meetings, do we get money for that? We do at the high school level. So if they access at the high school level, we can use that in terms of the student enrollment, and that's part of the information that we send every year to the department, and we do get reimbursement, partial reimbursement, of course, but every dollar counts. So we are keeping an eye on it, but you have seen declines in enrollment. For a variety of reasons.
Kind of a different topic, but looking at the high school, when are we going to get a sense, do you think, of what Deerfield is going to do and how that's going to impact their numbers?
Yeah, we already have a pretty good idea. The 8th graders have all made the decision about where they are selecting. There's normally, Bob, anywhere between 40 and 50 students that graduate from 8th grade from Deerfield. We are anticipating right now, as of the latest number from the superintendent in Pembroke, SAU 51, is 25 students. So we're going to see a decrease of 25 students from Deerfield. Okay. The other 25 has chosen another school. There were 3 options. Co-Brown, Pembroke Academy, and Concord. Right. We had 25. It looks like Co-Brown has 25. Okay. I always say it isn't over till it's over. And so we may see a change right up until September. So kind of holding my breath a little bit longer, but right now we say 25.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Richard.
With the enrollment numbers, we have over 100 homeless students. How does that affect our enrollment numbers, and are we able to retain and make sure those kids get to school?
Right, I think you saw Jack highlighted transportation in your budget. Unfortunately, some of that is the transportation. So I'm a family, I can't find housing in Concord. I choose another community. Close by, maybe Loudon, it could be Andover, Salisbury, it could be anywhere, right? Franklin. We because the McKinney-Vento allows them to remain in the school that they originated from, which was Concord. We by law provide transportation. So if they're let's say they're in Franklin, we provide transportation from Franklin to Concord to the school they're attending, and home. But what we do is we share that cost with the school district. So we pay half the transportation costs and they pay half. So it does help tamper down that cost of transportation. But, I mean, you've heard Jack and you heard, we talked during budget. This transportation issue is huge, huge. And, and Terry, as much as he tries, and he does a fabulous job at keeping this system going, the individual homeschool requirements of him sending a bus somewhere, you can't just pull it off. You can't always do that. That's why Jack has alluded to at what point, and John too, John's been involved in this conversation with Terry, at what point do we consider having our own small vans so that we can in fact run the vans to and from wherever we go? And it really has a significant impact, but we make sure the kids are in school.
Okay. And we have family support as well.
Right, and the family support comes, as you know, from your family liaisons in your schools and your social workers. They do an incredible job reaching out into and working with the families. Some of them are in hotel rooms in Concord, so we're reaching out, making sure that they have all of what their needs are. Food, there's a lot of food insecurity, and kind of goes along with what Liz is doing around collecting food and making sure that our families have that. But boy, our social workers are really the key in terms of making sure those families are taken care of.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I just was concerned.
Did you have something, Van? Oh, okay.
Do you want to I thought maybe you'd jump in and tell us about your food donations.
Plug, I didn't know
if
should I jump in?
Go for it.
So Capital Area Food Access Coalition is working with the Concord School District food pantries to help pack our pantries for National Nutrition Month, but also to support all of the food pantries that are almost in every single school in the district. So there will be bins to the public, to staff, that there will be bins at each outside of the entranceways of each of the schools, as well as one in the district office. So if, especially individual snack items, prepackaged 100-calorie kind of things, those are really in desperate need for the kids to bring home with them or to have during the day when they're not in school. So just think about that during the months of March. Anywhere in the front of any of the schools, there'll be a bin 24/7. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask Ms. Boucher, that would be non-perishable items that you'd want to put in?
Non-perishable items, yes.
Okay.
Non-perishable.
But anybody can put it in to any of
Anybody
those
can,
bins?
and some of the bins will have, like over at Runlet, I left the CARES Closet flyer in the bin, which has requests on there. There's specific requests at the Christa McAuliffe as well. Broken Ground has specific requests as well. So look in the bins if there are specific requests, it will be in the bin.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. And lastly, in enrollment, I think you saw it in your report, the biggest jump is the 12 more students in our preschool program. We're up to 138 now. It's not 138 kids in school every day from 7:30 to 2:30, 5 days a week. You know that it depends on their individual needs, but that number continues to grow. in terms of providing service. And as you know, we added another program this year at Abbott Downing. So we now have 3 preschool programs: Abbott Downing, Beaver Meadow, and Krista McAuliffe. Sorry, and Millbrook. That was future thinking. Sorry.
Slip it in there.
Yeah,
Are these programs at capacity or?
John.
Yes. Simple answer. As I presented during my budget, we've had 99 referrals already to this point for preschool through our community. It's a wonderful thing, as I presented. That means our community is reaching out to us when they have concerns over a young child. However, it's a busy day in the world of preschool for us, and they do an amazing job with their evaluation of students and their care of students at that level. They do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Meeting schedule.
So your schedule for March,
You enjoyed our break from each
Yeah.
other because we're back together.
Yeah, we are back. You had a nice winter recess. So this week, obviously, you have another budget session on Wednesday. Prior to that, negotiations at 5 o'clock. We'll have budget session at 5:30. Okay. Building committee, first building committee meeting at 5:30 here in the boardroom. Everybody's looking forward to that. Following week, you have an open session budget. So I think maybe on Wednesday night, you should decide whether you need it, whether you want to have it or not. We can decide on Wednesday. On the 13th is a really important budget session because that's the enrollment for students for the 24-25 school year at both the high school. The students have signed up for classes, as well as the Career and Technical Center. I will have a better understanding of what that looks like. That's all been done. It's all been gathered. They're now reviewing all of it up at the high school. I talked to Tim Herbert this morning. Jack and I talked to him, so I should have that data by the end of the week and ready for you on the 13th. Really important. Program working group starts out their work on the 14th. I think President Walsh described that work on that committee, so they'll have their hands full. Following week, executive committee at 5, and these are 2 important dates. The 18th is a first public hearing. We're going to hold it here at the central office, starting at 6 o'clock. And then the second one will be on the 20th, which will be held at Beaver Meadow at 6 o'clock. So 2 public hearings on your budget for folks to come and share their thoughts around it. One thing that we've included into this that week is the chairman of the instructional committee, Chairman Hastings, has asked for an instructional meeting on the 19th.
Yes. But did that work for you? We'll make it work, yeah. Okay, all right, so it will be on the 19th. Okay.
We good? We good?
Miss Higgins.
Dr. Hibbert is there.
Miss Higgins will not be able to make it.
Right, but I don't know that there was no other date, is my understanding.
It was tough getting.
It's 3 nights in a row,
I
too.
know, well, that's going to be your, I hate to say that, but that's kind of the pattern. Following week, in March is open session for budget, probably needed, only because you'll be coming back off your hearings, you'll be getting feedback from the public, and you want to talk about it. And that'll give you a chance to make any adjustments to your budget. You can make adjustments right up to the 27th. Except on the 27th, it's important that we have, Jack, what's the number we have to have?
5, simple
5.
majority for this one.
Okay, to finalize the budget, the 25 budget, okay? That's important that we have those folks there on that day. April, school board meeting on the first week, capital facilities back to some normalcy. Building committee, again, we try to sustain a pattern. First Thursday of every month, because it's hard for people's schedules if you jump around, and always at 5:30, and we'll do it here, so we're not all over the place. If we need to visit a school or go to a school, that's fine, but that'll be an exception. Negotiations and finance on the 8th, communication and policy on the 10th, and the sustainability working group is on the 11th. And I added that in, but we'll update this calendar. Executive Committee and City and Community Relations, we haven't had that for a while, Sarah, so we plugged that in for the 15th, and instructional meeting on the 17th. And if you're going on spring break and you're going to Florida and wherever they go on spring break now, it's the 22nd through the 26th is spring break, so. All right.
Did you have a question, Mr.?
I was just going to ask Mr. Dunn, the 6th, this Wednesday, is that the day we post the budget?
You
How
need
many
to post the
people?
budget. You need 5 for that.
5 for posting the budget.
And that's because your charter has you required to be 10 days prior to public hearings that the budget be posted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, and next week you have an open session and an enrollment. I will not be here next week, but enrollments.
I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Any other?
Can I just ask on the instructional committee, does the Thursday, the 21st, work better for you, Assistant Superintendent?
It does not.
It does not, okay.
Traveling to a conference.
Okay.
That's why we had to do it on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, okay. Okay.
Good effort, though.
Good, good.
Very good.
No, 5
5:30.
Yep.
All right. Okay, we have our second public comment period. We've got about 15 minutes left from our first session. Is there anyone who would like to make additional public comment that hasn't spoken? Seeing none? Superintendent, do we need a non-public session?
Yes, we do. We need a non-public under, if I could go back, please, 91A, A3, Section 2A, personnel matter.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Can I ask a question?
What's your question? Go ahead.
My question is, I understand most of these kids.
She needs to come to the microphone.
You got to come to the microphone.
I understand busing these children who are displaced, homeless.
Yes.
At what point do you, so in October, they go to their grandmother's house, say in Loudon, and you're taking them back and forth to Concord, right? You're providing that transportation. At what point are they?
Loudon residents?
Yeah.
It's spelled out under the law, Mr. Fabrizio, yes, please feel free to
So I can
answer.
answer you. Every year, there's a needs assessment done. So by law, if they become homeless within the calendar, within the school year, so say in October they become homeless, have to move to Loudon, or you want to pick on Loudon, Franklin, or other surrounding towns, they have the right to attend that school for that year under the law. So after that year, we reassess, and if they've established permanency, is what they call it. If they've established permanency, they've lived with the grandmother and they have a permanent resident as their known residence, and there's no other mitigating factors, then they are considered, then we would talk to the other school district and they would make that decision to move them there.
But you kind of have to wait until they do that.
It's a year,
Yeah.
yeah.
But if they have an established residency there and the year is up,
You determine it, you have to go through a needs assessment again.
Oh.
Every year a needs assessment is done on any homeless student. Every year we have to do it as part of the law to figure out where they are and what their situation is. Because sometimes it's changing, they have multiple family members they live with, or multiple friends, or multiple shelters, or multiple hotels. And it changes, every case is different, and that's why we do a needs assessment. We sit with our homeschool liaison sits with the parent and goes through an entire needs assessment what the child needs.
okay.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel, would someone like to make the motion?
You're going to non-public?
Non-public under,
So moved.
for
You're
personnel
doing,
matter.
are you doing A and D, Kathleen?
A and B, so.
D.
A and D, so
A and
moved by
D.
Ms. Robinson.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Boucher. Could you do a roll call, Ms. Meeker?
You got it. Ms. Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell? Mr. Cotton?
Yes.
Ms. Hastings?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Ms. Superintendent, do you expect us to need to take any votes after this?
No.
No. So we will go into non-public. We will come out of non-public and adjourn. We do not expect to do any other business this evening. And we will let Concord TV go home. And we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Take a break.
Who's gonna make it to